Hey everybody, it's Rob here. We just got the final patch notes for the Abattoir of Zir update that's coming on the December 5th with the new endgame. And there's not really been any balance changes. We're most likely going to get balance changes again in Season 3. So I sat here together, I tested a lot of builds over the past days. And we sat together in stream and we crafted this Abattoir of Zir tier list. And I played most of these builds here on this list. I didn't play Rogue, but a lot of the other builds I personally played, and I talked to a lot of people in the community, to a lot of you guys, and we came up with this Abattoir of Zir tier list. So before we get going, I want to mention real quick that this tier list has no aspiration of ranking every build in the game. We're only going to be focusing on the good ones, or the ones that have potential to be played, or to be in the top spot for Abattoir of Zir. So everything up to A tier is going to be the top 10 best builds, in my opinion. Again, I have not personally played this Abattoir of Zir yet, so we can only make a best guess with the final patch notes and the information of the dev live stream where we saw a community manager Filthy Witch clear the dungeon. I already made a video about that I'm going to put in the description. I'm also going to put a link to the patch notes into the description and to this sheet, so along with the video you can also read on this, and I will do my best to also include build links. I am not going to finish them all, and again, there is a lot of speculation and a lot of copium involved here, so take it all with a grain of salt. This is just my opinion and my best educated guess. Yeah, so let's get into it. So at the very top, to no surprise, I think we have the Hoda Barb and the Boar Lightning Sork. So this is all my S tier. I put these two builds into S tier plus, because I think they are just so much better than anything else. You could also just make this here and just call it S tier and call this all S tier. But I think adding S tier plus just really shows the dominance of these two very popular builds. I mean, you've seen the Hoda Barb, you've seen the Boar Lightning Sork do crazy things. And I'm a Barb main, so I'm probably a bit biased here, but I think the Hoda Barb is gonna be the best build, especially with the immortal versions and some crazy toughness you can get. But Boar Lightning is going to be right up there, and it is competing, man. Like, probably Boar Lightning is going to overtake Hoda in the end. We don't know, but these are crazy builds. So Barb has this like crazy damage hits, like crazy one-shot potential with the one Hoda boinks, basically. You can also play Immortal. You can also play Low Life with Infinite Healing Tech. And you can also equip 4 Urioniques. So I have the build. This is my Hoda Zir push build. This is obviously like the best in slot version. So we are rocking Shaco, Grandfather, and Doombringer, and Melted Heart. So that's 4 Urioniques in one build. It's very hard to get. Boar Lightning Sword can get away with way less Urioniques. You don't necessarily even need any, because like Godslayer and stuff, like you have very good alternatives. But on the Hoda Barb, it's just really shining with all these uniques, because you get so much life from Grandfather, Shaco, Toughness, Doombringer, Melted Heart. Like, you just get so much stuff. So we don't know fully if we're gonna play the Immortal Barb or if we're gonna play the DPS version with Banished. I'll probably make a separate video about all the advantages and disadvantages of the different builds. But for now, I think I'm gonna go with the Infinite Healing version here that I'm gonna have in the description and also in the sheet here. Because yeah, if you die in these Abattoir of Zir, you're out. Like, there's no second chance, and you wasting all these materials. I have a lot of calculations here in the sheet as well, going over the glyph. We will talk about this at the end here of this video, and I'll make a separate video about the sigil powder costs here as well. So we actually learned a lot on the live stream. If you like, I checked it out, like I rewatched it step by step, and yeah, we actually learned a lot here about the new glyph, Tears of Blood, and about the sigils, and so on and so on. But yeah, basically also in S tier plus we have the Boar Lightning Sword. This one has insane DPS, very good attack speed as well, which gives you a lot of sustain. You can heal a lot, you can get a lot of barrier, you can get a lot of procs, you can get very easy disobedience up, as well as you have immortality tech as well, either with Melted Heart, but also with Flame Shield and Deep Freeze if you don't have any Uber Uniques. So these are particularly good as well, and yeah, those are the two top builds. And then the other builds here in the S tier are also very good. You've probably recently seen me play Poison Shred. So this one is pretty insane, because you get a double dip on your multiplier. So you get an extra about ×9, ×10 compared to all other classes. So if you take Hoda Barb and Shred right now, the balance will change, and the Shred Druid is going to get 10 times stronger in comparison to Hodabab, because they both get 10 times stronger, but then the Shred get 10 times stronger again, because it benefits most likely twice from the multiplier. So Poison Shred only really has toughness issues, and the rotation can be a little bit clunky to perform for some players. But in the end, if it really works like this, and I'm like 99% sure it will, but again, we haven't played, it definitely has a lot of potential here, and that's why it's also in the S tier, and the best Druid build, I think, by a significant margin. All the other Druid builds are down here in B tier, we'll get to them later. But yeah, that's the Poison Shred, and I calculated it roughly here, so Poison Shred is looking about to double dip, so it's gonna get these times 12 multiplier twice, so we are looking at like about times 150 the damage that it does now, if you have a good board. So yeah, that's the Poison Shred. It's gonna feel a little clunky to play, I think, for a lot of people. And if you have the glyph at low levels, it won't be S tier yet. Like, you need to get these Tears of Blood glyph up for it to be very good, right? Like, probably around level 50 to 100, it really starts taking off for Shred, and the double dip comes fully into effect. Then we have the bugged combo point Rogue. I think the Twisting Blade is the best version. Maybe the Rapid Fire / Penetrating Shot does perform as well, because you can play like ranged. Historically, it's always been beaten by melee, but who knows for the future. Like, it has crazy AoE, scaling with Penetrating Shot, and it can also stay a bit more safe than the Twisting Blade Rogue, because it can play range, right? You don't need to be like on top of all these monsters, because if you die again, the run is over. So you wanna be pretty tanky, and you also want to be very DPS focused. But yeah, the Talbot's Will plus combo points with the dagger is creating this bug where you can have up to like 20 plus combo points, and it just does like way more damage than it's supposed to do. It's probably the most broken build. Not the strongest, but the most broken build there is, and definitely the strongest rogue build. And yeah, Twisting Blades has this crazy damage, crazy sustain, and it also has a lot of crowd control. So it's looking pretty good. I did not personally play Rogue at all, but this is what I've heard from a lot of people in the community. I've watched a lot of videos. I watched Lucky's video that I linked here as well. I'm gonna put that in the description as well from the Rogue. And he did a lot of Rogue videos in the past. And he also is, I think, under the impression that Twisting Blade has a slight edge over the ranged one. But I put them both in S tier because they are both amazing builds, and I think their power level is gonna be relatively equal. Then we have the Upheaval Barb. This one is a lot safer than the Hoda Barb due to medium range as well, similar to the Rogue stuff. Like, you don't need to be like in the face of the monster. But it does significantly less damage than Hoda. So Hoda does this like 200, 300, 500 million. And Upheaval is more like, 200, like maybe about half, maybe a little more than half. But the thing is, it has some advantages. Like, it very easily keeps Disobedience because you have the DR from your Hellhammer. I don't think we have this right now. I'm just standing here with my Barb. But you could have the Hellhammer, and that gives you burn, and it would stack your Disobedience very easily, right? Obviously, we don't really get it right now here in this Barb build, but there is also a technology on Barb to stack it basically on almost every build. It's just putting 1 point in Outburst, 1 point in Tough as Nails. And this stacks up your Disobedience here, like you can see. I'm getting this armor now. But yeah, I just wanted to show you this here real quick. And with Hellhammer, it's a lot easier. And Hellhammer also has the extra damage reduction from burning enemies. So it's a bit more tanky than the Hoda Barb. But again, not as much damage, and I think you're going to really be limited with DPS output at some point, because those tiers are going to get hard, and you need to beat the dungeon in 10 minutes. So that's why Upheaval Barb, in my opinion, is a bit weaker than Hoda, but basically also in S tier. Because it is very much keeping up with the Rogue and the Shred Druid. And it's significantly stronger than all the builds in A tier. So now, in A tier, the first build I have here is the Bone Spear Necromancer. Keep in mind, guys, I played a lot of Necro as well, but not as much. I don't have the level of knowledge, not even close to the Barbarian, for example. So down here, A and B tier, I didn't even list all the builds. There's probably a few more. But these are like more like the popular builds, right? Like that people play. So here you can, I estimate it as good as I can, but I did not play every single build of these. So again, this is just my best guess. I played a lot of Bone Spear, and I've seen and compared it to like Infinimist, and there was even some other builds like Bone Spirit and some other stuff. But I still think the Bone Spear Necro, especially with Lidless Walls, like defensive toughness healing setup, looks to be the best Necro build. I've seen Infinimus like be pretty tanky, good survivability, but the boss damage is just not there, man. And even if it's like 3 targets on the boss, it just felt like Infinimus would take too long on the boss, in my opinion. That's why I put it down 1 tier and I put Bone Spear up here. So probably like a shield, Littlest Wall setup here for the Necro to be relatively tanky. And you can also put out some decent damage, but it's not close to the S tier builds. So that's why it's down here. Then we have the Deathblow Barb. You have actually a huge potential for one-shots, but you lack the damage once you basically don't kill anymore. And it's gonna happen in the high tiers of Abattoir of Zir. You're not gonna one-shot all the stuff basically anymore. And then your Deathblow goes on cooldown. So you're gonna have an issue. And also you're gonna be missing the multiplier on Deathblow. If you're checking here, Deathblow in-game has a 2.5x multiplier against bosses. But we could already tell from the video that the Seekers, like the boss of Abattoir of Zir, is not considered as a boss, and I tested this in-game as well. So you're not gonna get the multiplier because those Seekers are considered elites, and they are not considered bosses. Maybe they're gonna change this something, but because I think it also changes some other classes, some mechanics, if they're not considered bosses. It makes them weaker. But yeah, that's why Deathblow is not an S tier, and I think it's more suited in A tier right here. Then we have the Double Swing Barb. This is a very decent overall, like very fast-paced build. You don't really benefit from the what the hell? From the Furroring. I do see it for some reason. From the Furroring on your ring slot here, because yeah, they just didn't include Double Swing for some reason. So that was a bit sad. Just wanted to make sure I'm still online. But yeah, overall it's a good build. Still, there's better builds to play on Barb, but Double Swing, if that's your playstyle, because it's fun, it's fast-paced, you dual wielding, it's cool. It's a very strong build. And then we have the Arclash Shock. This one is basically just Ball Lightning. You play Arclash, but in the end, like, it's all about the Ball Lightnings anyways, even in these builds. So it's definitely an option there. You have like a lot more recovery and a lot more healing and stuff. Cooldown resets, you have more Flame Shield uptime. But in the end, man, it's just pure Ball Lightning. It's just more damage, and I think just a better build overall. But this is also something you can play. Arclash was a very popular build in the past. And then maybe there's a couple more builds here of some classes I didn't play. I know there's no more Barb builds. But then popular builds here, B tier. And these are basically the top 10, right? This is like 10 builds. Maybe you could put Pulverize there instead of Arclash. Like, these are the, I think, top 10 best builds for Abattoir of Zir. Maybe add the Pulverize here because not everybody likes Shred, so let's say these builds here is 11, but that's my top 10. Delete Arclash Shock, I guess, from it. But yeah, Pulverize is really tanky. Like, you're a big bear, you have a lot of armor, you have a lot of life. But I think you really lack damage when you stop one-shotting the stuff, basically. Because you don't really get the overpower procs, like you need 20 kills to get the next overpower. There's other mechanics, but that's the main overpower mechanic. And I noticed it like falls off really quickly as you're not killing the monsters as fast. So this was my first contender to move up to A tier. But we decided collectively to basically keep it in B tier. Because I don't think it's gonna like compete with these other builds here. Maybe I'm up for a surprise here. Like, I could definitely see this being up here and then just starting the B tier here, right? But for now, I have it like this. So just make sure, like, this is like the top of the tier. So this is the first build that potentially moves up after we see the balance changes, right? Or after we see the final Abattoir of Zir version. Then we have the Bernado or the Pet Nado build. This one is very good. Very strong build overall, fan favorite build. It is very strong, but unfortunately it doesn't really have a good overpower synergy. So you're not really like benefiting that much from overpower, and overpower is like the best way to scale your damage in the current patch. So I definitely recommend you play a build that has overpower. So you don't really have that here right now. That's why it's in B tier as well. And then we have Stormclaw. I think out of these three, they will feel pretty similar, but what I've seen, Stormclaw is probably the weakest out of the three. I would put Pulverize at rank 1 there, Tornado on 2, Stormclaw on rank 3. Shred is in another tier. But these are like pretty close, so you can take your pick. But I think Stormclaw is going to be very tanky, but it doesn't really have the damage, I think, to clear the high tiers in time. And then we have the Infinimus. We already talked about it earlier when we compared it to Bone Spear. I think it has good survivability, but the boss damage is really, or the elite damage is really not there. I could not find like any good clips or videos where Infinimus did like any comparable damage to Bone Spear on single targets. So I'm not really sure, like, or like even on 2 targets. Like on 2 targets, Bone Spear gets more essence with exposed flesh and stuff, so it gets even better. So I'm not really sure, like, Infinimus seems to be a very good defensive choice, but offensive-wise, I think it's gonna lag behind Bone Spear for sure. If you fix toughness on Bone Spear with the shield setups, Littlest Wall, healing, crazy barrier, I think it's gonna outperform Infinimus. That's at least my thoughts. Then we have the Blizzard Sword. This one is also a decent build. It has, it used to be very good. It has still decent damage, and it's a good build overall. It has good CC, and you can play from range to stay safe. So if you don't like this, like in-your-face ball lightning, is like very melee focused, you could probably give it a go on Blizzard Sword. But you just gotta accept that you're not gonna like compete up there with the ball lightning swords. So you're gonna be a bit weaker, but it's a different playstyle, and if that's for you, give it a shot. It's still a good build. And then we have the F tier here, basically not so good. Not a good idea to play these, basically. We have the Whirlwind Barb, it's my favorite build in the game. But right now it's really weak because Overpower doesn't work with Whirlwind overall. Also the Ring, the Red Furore, also doesn't work with Whirlwind. And yeah, this just makes it like very weak, especially if you compare it to the Hoda Barb. It's like a whole magnitude worse. It's like in a totally different universe. Like Hoda Barb's flying sky high, and Whirlwind Barb is like all down there in the shitter, unfortunately. So I really hope for some changes there in the future. Like I think a lot of people here, my community, and a lot of people in the Barbarian community enjoy the spin to win playstyle. Maybe we can get some balance changes there for Season 3, which they basically confirmed already that this is coming on January 23rd for Season 3. We're gonna see some balance changes, but they also confirmed again in the dev stream, guys, that we will not see any nerfs. So Immortal Barb, Ball Lightning Sword, Hoda Barb, Bugged Poison Combo Rogue, like all that stuff is not gonna get changed, not gonna get nerfed this patch. But expect it in Season 3, because yeah, these builds up here, like the Double Dip, Overpower is probably a bit too strong, Ball Lightning is bugged, Combo Point is like bugged to the power of 2. So I would expect some balance changes coming, whatever. Like maybe they will bring up other things, or maybe they will bring down some things. We'll see. Yeah, then we have also Thorns Barb. I just listed all the barbs here because people keep asking me. I don't think any of these has a chance. Like Thorns Barb is just too slow and also doesn't work with Overpower. So it's a unique playstyle. I like it as well, but it's just too slow. Like the monster needs to attack you first to deal damage. It doesn't work with Overpower. Too slow. Leap Barb also doesn't have any damage. We need help there. We need buffs. A Frenzy Barb, after Barber is gone, has just no area of effect. You can only kill single targets, and you have 3 bosses to kill, or 3 Bloodseekers to kill, so it's gonna be really hard on Frenzy Barb, and these kind of things. But yeah, that's my tier list, guys. I hope you enjoyed this overview. I wanted to, for the end, I'll probably keep updating this build list. Again, like you can try the Abattoir of Zir with any builds, but this is like really here the builds that I recommend you play. This is like one for every class as well, like Druid, Shred or Pulverize. On Barb, I really recommend you play Hoda or Upheaval. On Rogue, you gotta do the combo point, bugged stuff. It's just too strong. Necro is probably Bone Spear. You can try your luck with Infinimus, but I don't recommend. That's basically the recommendation, the top 10 builds for the new season. And something really interesting that we saw in a dev stream that I wanted to talk about here for the end is kind of like the expected power level or difficulty of Abattoir of Zir. So I took this as an example with the Barb Carnage board that I also have linked right here. So you can see here in the Paragon that we have the glyph here socketed into the Carnage board, Tears of Blood. And I went ahead and calculated all the nodes here. So we have core stats, blue stats, rare stats. And keep in mind, these rare stats will be boosted by another 3.5x once it's level 200. Because we will get another 50% to all rare nodes in range. And that increases by 10% every 10 levels. So we're totally gonna have 263 stats. So that leaves us with damage bonuses. But this one is gonna be a bit weaker than, like it's gonna be about ×4 because we're not gonna have the full 3.5 multiplier. But just to simplify, we're basically gonna end up, if it's level 200 on Barb, and I think other classes will be the same, we're gonna end up ×12 with the damage. So if you're hitting for a million right now, you're gonna hit for 12 million. If you're hitting for 100, you're going to hit for 1.2 trillion. But in order to get this glyph, you see there's a lot of Paragon points. We also have to give up something. So on Bar, for example, I'm losing the Decimator node, and I'm also losing about 400 overpower from the Dominate glyph. Because, yeah, we're basically losing 1, or some builds will lose 2, and maybe some builds will even lose 3 glyphs. So on Barb, it comes out to about 33% damage loss. So it's a 1.50 multiplier that we lose because we need to get the new glyph in, and we lose Paragon boards, right? Nodes. So the total net damage gain on Barb will basically be the 12 divided by 1.3. So we're getting about 9 to, maybe on other builds, it's going to be 10 times stronger. It really depends a bit on the board. But I was just like, you can just add an extra 0 to your damage. So if you're hitting for 100 million right now with a maxed out glyph, optimized character, you're probably going to hit for 1 trillion. And the shred is going to probably be 2 zeros instead of 1. Maybe even stronger. We'll see. But yeah, shred is going to be really good. Maybe it's fair to say to add 2 zeros on shred. But that's why shred is getting that much stronger than it is right now, relatively to all the other builds. Then we have the HP scaling. So we just assumed here, because they said in the stream that 1 Abattoir of Zir level equals 4 Nightmare Dungeons. 4 levels of Nightmare Dungeons right now. And that is, I think, about 20%, 25% life. And that was the assumption here. So the Abattoir of Zir 25, tier 25 will feel like Nightmare Dungeon 200. You probably need about 15k armor. We'll see. The monster scaling might change. Maybe it's a bit less. Maybe it's a bit more. But then we can also really calculate, because we can just calculate 25 to the power of 25. This is like high case already. We can also do 20%. If we just change this here, then it would be 95x the HP. But I think it's going to be 25. So we are looking at 265 times monster HP. So a monster that has 10 million life in Nightmare Dungeon 100 right now will probably have 264 times the life. So 2.6 billion life. Yeah, billion. So it's definitely going somewhere, right? But then again, you get this new glyph. So I calculated the difference basically, because we already established that we get 9 times damage if our glyph is maxed. This might take a long time to grind out. We don't know. But that's kind of what I'm expecting. That's going to take at least a couple days to get this glyph to level 200. But then finally, if we calculate the difference, we just divide the 265x on the health divided by 9. So they're going to be about 29 times stronger. So Abattoir of Zir, this is just an assumption. We don't know exactly, but this is something that I'm expecting, somewhere around those lines, that Abattoir of Zir 25 will be 29 times harder to kill. I don't know about their damage output, but this is just how much life they have. So it's going to be like about 29 times harder if you have the maxed level glyph. Or, and you can divide this by 7, because you can already try and clear Nightmare Dungeon 100 with a 4-man party, but everybody's in town and you just play alone. So you can simulate that it's 4 times the HP. So it would be just 7 times stronger than a solo 4-player Nightmare Dungeon. So that probably means we will do 9 times more damage per hammer cast. I'm just taking the Hoda example because that's where the Carnage board is from. And that's one of the best builds in the game. Monsters will have 265 times the health. So that means monsters will feel 29 times tankier than the current Nightmare Dungeon 100. So the current Hoda, let's just assume you hit for 200 million overpower. I've done in the billions, but 200 million is like, you can achieve this with like pretty decent gear with some Uber Uniques. Unique Grandfather, you can achieve this. And the new Hoda will probably hit for, you know, times 9 that. So you're going to be looking at 1 billion, maybe 2 billion, between 1 and 2 billion per boink. And yeah, the Elite life is about 10 million in the current Nightmare Dungeon 100. And the Seeker life is about 27. This was hard to test. It's an average calculation. There's different types of Seekers. It's just to give you an estimate. So they're probably going to have a couple billion life. Like maybe they're going to even have 10 billion life in Abattoir of Zir tier 25. But then again, if you have like your fully overpowered crit Hoda with all the damage multipliers up, I don't know if you can play this offensively. Maybe we need to, like, let's say, give up Tarbot's will to get in more toughness. But you could probably expect them to kill them still in a few Hoda hits. At least according to this take it with a grain of salt calculation, right? Just to give you an example, I think there's going to be a good chance, if you have the glyph on a high level, that you're going to be clearing 25. At least on the top builds in the game, right? This is what I made this tier list for. I think these two builds, if you have your glyph leveled, again, this is assumption. We don't know for sure. This is just my best guess, right? judging from what they've said in the live streams publicly and all that kind of stuff, that this is gonna be probably possible to clear. I will certainly try, guys. I will be streaming. I'm maybe gonna do a 24-hour stream on launch. We will keep going, and we will see. Maybe we can get to Abattoir of Zir tier 25. I'm gonna have a lot more videos coming here, guys, talking about the different setups for Hoda, because people keep asking me, am I gonna play healing? Am I gonna play immortal? Am I gonna play full DPS? I'm gonna make up my mind, and I'm gonna post a video about what I think is the best. Again, just my opinion. And there is also a lot of like easy switching you can just do, right? Like you can just switch your amulet. Like it's same Paragon board, everything. Like this is definitely going to be my Paragon board right here. So that's going to be in the description. And I'll just like switch around some items. Like you can easily switch Melted Heart for a Lord Talisman again. So there's some pretty easy switches you can do on Bob that I will talk about as well. But yeah, this was the tier list video and the learnings from the dev stream and the recent patch notes. And this is kind of what I expect. Hope you enjoyed this overview, guys. If you liked the video, subscribe and stay tuned for more content. Take care. Good luck, boys. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.